Hi, my name is Chris Barry, and I'm going to talk to you about the one thing I know quite a lot about, which is building relationships across professional services. Now, I think the technical revolution and AI is going to play a big part in this, so I'm going to talk a bit about the background and the history, and then also what that might mean going forward. I started in 2003 and remember looking up, a long way up, to people much older than I, thinking, you make it look so easy to win new business. How do they do it? And what I don't think I recognised at the time is that actually it takes many years to build such a strong bond with a professional contact that you almost become friends and you sort of know them personally. And that way it becomes really fluid, really easy to pass business amongst each other. And fast forward 20 years, I don't think a lot has changed really. Broadly, the landscape looks similar. The only big difference, of course, is that a lot of these meetings are happening remote, which has a huge advantage because you've got a bigger reach. But I don't think that you can fully replace that face-to-face bond. Apparently, and I think this is probably a pretty firm stat, 80% of people choose their lawyer based on recommendation. And we'll come back to that later. So let's talk about AI. OpenAI spent a lot of money and a tremendous amount of time building this large language model that is ChatGPT. Along came DeepSeek, and they did it in a fraction of the time, a couple of months, I believe, and at a fraction of the cost, about £6 million, so it's reported. So, of course, that immediately propels the trajectory of what AI will mean for conveyancing specifically. So if they can do that at such an enhanced rate, what's next? What's the next DeepSeek, and what does that look like for us? So we hear reports all the time about how the acceleration of this technology will reduce the amount of manpower we need within our industry to get things done more quickly. And we're talking about integration. We're talking about efficiencies whereby administration tasks don't need to be carried out over a period of time by a human. It is done instantly. And what I think blows my mind a lot is that actually this stuff doesn't sleep. So a client, a third party, could send information into the firm of an evening, typically when a member of staff isn't there, and an AI agent could deal with that. It could understand what that document is, it could contextualize it, and it could do something with it, like progress the matter to the next step. So it feels like we're going to get to that point very quickly, and when we do, the obvious conversation is going to be around, well, what does that mean for people in our industry? And that's what we're going to come on to. So relationships are really the backbone of everything that is property. In England, we are the longest time in the world to purchase a property. I don't think I found a country yet that's longer. I think the majority of that is down to the fact that we have a leasehold tenure. That isn't common in the world. I don't think, again, there's any other country that has leasehold. So obviously very historic, very complicated, and that's one of the things that I think AI is going to take some time to properly understand, given the variations over hundreds of years. So what does that look like? What does that look like for relationships? And in my view, they now become more important than ever. Because if there are two firms competing, both using the same technology, a client's assumption will be, what's the difference? And even at the moment, I talk to clients all the time and they say to me, conveyancing is conveyancing. Why would I go with you over someone else? Why would I pay you more? And they don't quite understand it. And that's why human interaction is so important to build relationships with clients and help them understand what a firm can do to best fit their needs. And that might be budget needs, it might be technical needs, it could be timescale restraints. The next thing I wanted to talk about is trust and awareness. So that comes in a few forms. But firstly, when we're talking about differentiating between firms and relationships, one of the key things to think about is social media. Now, if you were to walk down a street and pass hundreds of people and be asked at the end, who did you pass? you probably wouldn't think of anything immediately that stood out unless one of these 5 things. So the human brain tends to retain information when you're attracted to somebody. So if you pass somebody that you think is very attractive, you will remember it. If you pass somebody that's being really silly, so somebody's dressed as a hot dog or something like that, you are likely to remember it. And if you think about somebody that is familiar, so perhaps you've met them before or have an existing relationship with them, immediately you'll be able to remember that. And then finally, if you've learned something. And those last two, are really important for social media. So you want to grab attention, but also be remembered, because what this does over time is build trust. So social media is a really great tool to start getting educational content out to people, and the people that follow that, your community, will learn things, and once they learn things, they remember you, and then once they remember you, you become familiar. And those two things together are really, really powerful. Again, AI can support here, but certainly doesn't replace, because personal brand is everything, and that's really what people are buying into, the people behind the brand. So social media, I think, is vitally, vitally important, and that's one way to carry on attracting business in the new world from a relationship perspective with perhaps people you don't already know. The second thing, of course, is the client journey. So a client will typically, if they're buying, go to their mortgage broker and ask, how much can I borrow? But the second client journey is if somebody is perhaps upscaling or downsizing, they might want to know before they do anything else, how much is my property worth? And yes, they could go on Zoopla and have a quick look at their value, but it might not be particularly accurate. I think what they would do is talk to probably the estate agent that they bought the house through originally, if they had a good experience, or somebody they've seen a couple of boards around the area for, put in a call and get somebody to come around and have a look. Rarely does the client come to the conveyancer first. So building a relationship with estate agents and mortgage brokers in our industry is absolutely key. You cannot rely solely on social media, and I think solely relying on Google Ads as well is pretty much a race to the bottom in terms of fees, because it becomes a fee-related exercise for the client rather than a relationship one. And remember, at the start we said 80% of people choose their lawyer based on recommendation. The third is friends and family. So that'll be doing a really good job for your existing client base, asking for referral business, and then finding out that these will come in over a matter of course. I mean, people move on average once every 8 years now, I believe. So the chances of that client coming back to you for another sale in the near future is quite limited, although they might purchase a buy-to-let. But what they can do is, when they're having dinner at a friend's house and they find out their friend is likely to move in the next 12 months, talk to them about your business. So with the relationships with estate agents and mortgage brokers, that piece for me has stayed the same for decades and will stay the same for decades. So the AI will come in and help you do things like more social media, better social media. AI for videos and photographs and content is exceptional. But it cannot replace the bond that you have with another property professional who has direct to consumer access and the ability to recommend your business on a regular basis. That is going to be the differentiator between yours and another firm. Because when a client really trusts you, and I'm talking about a trusted advisor like a financial advisor or a mortgage broker, somebody who sees their client regularly, and that person says, without doubt, these are the conveyancers for you. I've used them personally. Lots of my clients use them. They are consistently good. That client is unlikely to go and shop around and look elsewhere. The client is spending probably 3 months with their estate agent at the beginning of the process, 3 months with their mortgage broker at the beginning of the process. It comes over to the lawyer. The lawyer's side of things is 3 to 4 months on average, maybe a bit longer now. 133 days, I think, at last check. And the client's perception of the process right at the end is made up of that entire interaction, and probably more importantly on the conveyancing side, because the conveyancer are interacting more at the end. So the estate agent or mortgage broker recommend a conveyancer, it is so important to them that it goes well, because it's almost their reputation on the line as well. As soon as it does, they pay you back in spades. So the relationship side of things on that will continue as it is, and what will be really helpful for conveyancing in the future is when this process can be faster through efficiencies, and once the relationships are built for the introduction of new work, then the relationships between lawyer and introducer, lawyer and client, will be the differentiator between your firm and anybody else. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it and hope you have found it useful, and thank you very much for listening.